Welcome everybody to the 1 hour AI powered content system masterclass. I'm your host, Rob Cressy, alongside my partner, Colin Scotland. Colin, how you doing today?
Spectacular, Rob. You?
Super good, because I'm super excited about what we are about to experience. And what we're going to talk about is how you can leverage AI and ChatGPT to create more heart-centric content in a way that is scalable, system scale. And we want to pop open the hood and say, hey, here's how Colin and I are, among other things, creating content for our brands in a way that is human first. And you can too. And for anybody who's new, Colin and I are co-founders of Unlimited, and we're all about leading with your heart. And it's an area and a place where you can grow, create, and share in a way that's authentic, impactful, and built to last. And if you're someone who is exceptional, has a big vision, and you love to be surrounded by the best, we encourage you to join us. Go to unlimited.coach. So, Colin, let's get right after it right now. And I'm going to let you lead this first part, and then we're going to cook with ChatGPT the second part.
Looking forward to it. So one thing just to note, this has zero to do with having AI do all of the content for you, and everything to do with how we use AI to amplify our voice and our message. And that's important because the biggest mistake I see people making, hey Jordan, good to see you, is to focus on having the AI do all of the hard work and create content, create content, create content. And Rob and I both know, having lived in this world for over 2 years now, both of us, that we can spot AI written content a mile away. The goal in all of this is that we focus on creating content that amplifies our voice. And so it's always human first. And that's what's unique and different to the way that Rob and I approach what we do. So I'm going to show you something right now real quick, and then we're going to pop open the hood and get stuck straight into this process. Hey, Joe, good to see you. And so can I have a thumbs up, Rob? Can you see the screen?
Yep, I'm seeing next big move inside of Unlimited.
Inside of Unlimited. So what we're teaching today comes as part of our next big move framework. And we're talking about a very small part of our process. And I want to run through with you two really important things. And then we're going to pop the hood open and we're going to start playing with these things together. Rob's going to do some demos, and then we're going to just walk through some live examples. The first thing is, the most important question that we can ask when we're looking to sell something. And that is, what do people need to believe in order to say yes, in order to buy our products and services? This is a fundamental question because this dictates what content we need to put out into the world. There's no point putting content out that doesn't help somebody move towards becoming a paying client of yours. That doesn't do them any service, right? So the idea here is that we focus very much on not just human first, but also what we call content with intent. And it's born from a PhD that I started in the psychology of buyer behavior when we're buying services. And it follows the path of the buyer decision process that you see in a version of on the screen here. We recognize that we've got a problem. Oh, my back's hurting. So now we go and look for a solution to that problem. How can I look at back remedies and chiropractors? So the problem recognition, the information search, the evaluation of alternatives, and then making a decision to buy is a process that we all go through when we're buying anything that is of significance. Maybe not when we're buying a can of beans off the supermarket shelves, but anything that has, we call it high touch, high emotional content, high emotional impact. Then we go through this process of buying. And the content with intent framework that we're going to share with you right now comes from this academic research. And the idea is that we create content that supports these different stages of the decision-making process. So what do people need to believe in order to buy what it is that you do? They need to have content that meets them at each of these different phases, alongside the belief in the ethos, the credibility of your ability to help them. Okay. So one quick note, if you have any questions, we're going to get really interactive in a sec. But if there is any questions as we go, feel free just to pop them into the chat and we'll pick up on them as we're going through. Anything that comes up for you in this, then the time's ticking away here, right? So we said in 60 minutes, you're going to have a week's worth of content or more. That part's actually ridiculously easy. And Rob and I can just let the timer trickle down and still deliver a week's worth of content. We were going to say a month's worth, but we thought that would seem like unbelievable to most people. And actually we can do that in probably 10 minutes, literally 10 minutes. So your mind is going to be blown when we get to that part. But more importantly than that, because if you just go into the process without understanding this, it won't work for you. You may as well throw the content up into the wind and just hope it lands somewhere, because it won't, and it won't. The understanding of how people buy and why people buy what it is that you do is the thing that will make your content completely different. That, combined with our content with intent framework, which is content buckets, types of content that meet and match people where they're at in this buying decision process. So I'm not going to go into any more detail than that. If you want more detail, go into check out the nextbigmove.coach program that we offer. It's complimentary to members of Unlimited, or you can go and buy the framework if you wanted to check that out. But we're going to give you these buckets and we're going to play with these buckets right now. The 5 content types are bust a myth. What do people need to believe in order to say yes? They need to believe that coaching is the answer to their problem. If they don't believe that, they think they can solve the problem on their own, there's an ideal opportunity for you to reframe that person's thinking through content. You really gonna struggle to do this on your own, right? Here's somebody that tried and failed, and here's how they overcome it with this methodology. So there's a content type called bust a myth, where you do what's called a pattern interrupt. You didn't expect me to scream right there, right? It's a pattern interrupt that changes what we expect. Content that creates a pattern interrupt changes what we expect. We call it bust a myth content. You believe A is the answer when actually A is making things twice as bad for you. Then it's origin story. This is creating an emotional connection with you and the understanding and the belief, more importantly, that you can deliver the results for them, your brand. I talk a lot to coaches and influencers and thought leaders and consultants, so I tend to speak in the first person and say you. But if you're a business or corporation, then your brand fits in. Replace you with your brand, right? Next is showing people success. So in marketing, we have a saying that we show, we don't tell. And so how do we show what success looks like? How do we prove the claims that we make? How do we show that the results we're promising are real? Well, we can give case studies, testimonials, social proof, all of these kinds of tools to prove the claim. Now, if you think about this, if you're seeing the words of testimony of somebody that's experienced a product or service that you're considering, that is content with intent, because that moves you. You're already considering it, right? You're not completely oblivious. That moves you toward the decision to say yes. The next is the unique process. This is your mechanism, your process for delivering transformation. So every transaction that we make is a value exchange. We give usually money in exchange for some value, and that value is usually the solution to a problem. So we deliver the solution to a problem in exchange for money. That's what happens when we make a purchase. How do you deliver that solution? How do you deliver that transformation and that change? In services, we have something called a service delivery mechanism or process. I call it the prison to paradise process. So you may have in coaching, you'll hear loads of methodologies. We have the soul framework. We have the amplify framework. In our Next Big Move program, you'll see something called the Move framework. So the Move framework is our unique way to help you market yourself better, faster, cheaper, quicker, all of those things with AI. What is your unique process? This is a bucket of content. And then finally, taking the next step. This is not just taking the next step and buying your product or service. This is taking the next step and coming into your world a little bit further. So it might be a call to action to a lead magnet, a blog post, a join your newsletter. It's not necessarily come and buy. It's call to actions take all different types of format and content. So I flew through that as fast as I possibly could. 5 content types. Thanks for putting them in the chat there, Rob. You're going to use them as we dive into some experiential approaches to how you create content with these types. And I'm going to pause there. If there's any questions, use the raise hand function or just drop them into the chat.
So here's a simple way that I like to distill this and drill this down. And it's sort of like 3 ways. Number 1, when I think content system, I think content with intent, meaning you're intentional about each piece of content and the role that it is serving in there. Because so often we hear of the I don't know what to create, or I don't want this to be something that's not authentic to who I am. There's a lot of reasons why we don't want to do it, but we want to first anchor in with the why. And then number 2 becomes the human first side of this. And if we're using AI in this, and this is going to be the number 1 area where most people fail, is it'll just say, write me a blog post about insert X, Y, and Z. And it'll say delves, crafted, tapestries, semicolons, dashes, and you'll look at this and see it a mile away. Instead, when we're adopting a human first perspective, we like to use our own transcripts or blog posts or our own words first if we're going to co-create from this. And one sort of caveat here is this is just one tool in your creator tool belt for creating content. It is not the only thing that we do. It is one of a myriad of things that we do that allow us to create more with less faster. Because once we said, all right, we're doing this content with intent from a heart first perspective, or maybe we're using our transcript or something we've already created, then number 3, we get to the creation side of things. And this is where it's like this is how I can create content faster by leveraging each of these things right here. And Colin, what I think would help here is going through and doing a walkthrough of what this looks like. And do you have the ability to open up your ChatGPT or show anything, or we can actually just do this straight out of nothing? How would you like to run that?
I think let's just run it out of thin air, Rob, from 0, because that'll be the best way to show it in action. And yeah, I can do that, or you can. Either way, it's good.
And let me share a brief structure side of things. So system scale. So one of the things that I had my virtual assistant do for me is I'm building out my entire content process inside of Notion. And when you see the engagement, bust a myth, origin, show me, process, or CTA, it can feel like a lot where you're like, wait a second, am I doing all these things? I'm not sure. Let's just organize this nice and simply where you can just push a button and say, hey, this day I'm going to do bust a myth. This day I'm going to be origin. Don't overthink what the distribution and publishing needs to look like. If you're going to be building an omnipresent brand at scale, and with the world of AI significantly accelerating how much we can create, your ability to stay organized is paramount here. So for any of us who have ever gone through the Building a Second Brain program, which is all about personal knowledge management, I'm really going to encourage you when you're thinking about creating an AI-powered content system that the creation, or step 1 strategy, step 2 creation, but then step 3 is going to be the publishing and distribution. And it's likely that's what's going to cause a lot of friction for a lot of people, because it's going to feel like a lot. But it doesn't have to. I just want to give the caveat that the more organized and transparent you are in the way that you're organizing this stuff, the better. And of course, you can say, Rob and Colin, I'm going to throw all that in the trash and I'm just going to fire hose this and create the content to go. You can. What's on your mind, Colin?
Yeah, so what we're doing here is we're giving you structures, scaffolds, ways of doing this. We're not saying that this is the way definitive. We're saying these are ways in which you can eat this elephant. And our invitation to you is to find the way that resonates and works best with you. So Rob's elaborate Notion database there with all his posts is great. I do something similar but different, the same but different, right? So you can see here, these are my content posts scheduled out for LinkedIn. I split CTA into bringing people to my blog and then into my world. So email, newsletter, podcast, different lead magnets that I have, and these are examples of those differences in CTAs, right? And then bust a myth content, origin story. You can see my queue's empty for these. Origin story, show me unique process. And then I run a process with a VA that essentially does what we're going to show you now and filters that into Notion, create the graphics. We can do that in batch processing in Canva. We're not going to get into that today, but that's another way that we could just go down the rabbit hole of all of this, where you can create dozens and dozens of these things in one go. And it's Notion, that program, by the way, Isabel. And then you can literally do this en masse. That's why we're so confident that we could create a month's worth of this stuff in 10, 15 minutes. And an hour is far too long, Rob, isn't it?
It is. So next part in there. So if we are going to be using pre-existing content, whether it is a video, a podcast, or a blog post, I just dropped a link to a YouTube plugin in the chat, and I'll show you here. Here's our masterclass we had 2 weeks ago, how to give ChatGPT soul. And there's a plugin by Glasp, GLASP, that is a YouTube transcript. And with this, boom, I can just copy a transcript and then drop it into ChatGPT. So you'll see me do this sort of backwards here, right? So there's the entire 1 hour transcript right there. So Colin, let's assume you and I are now creating content with intent. Walk me through what you would do now that we've given, hey, we had an hour-long blog, an hour-long masterclass. So there is gold littered all throughout there. What are you doing next?
Okay, right. Let's dive in. Before we do that, let me give you let me just fire hose you a little bit. I'm going to steal the screen, Rob. Let's lose where we're at. If you're taking text, say from a blog post, then or a web page, you grab the URL of the web page and you go to this website and you paste the URL in here, and it will extract the text for you, so that you can then copy and paste the text into the ChatGPT. I'm going to drop this website URL into the chat for you now, but essentially the idea is that you're taking there's the link. You're taking your voice, your content, and you're using that as the starting point for what we're about to share with you right now. Doesn't matter whether it's audio. If it's audio, you can get it transcribed using HappyScribe, Otter, Descript, whatever service you'd like to use. And then you can essentially use that as the starting point. The idea being, remember, that it's your voice that we're amplifying. We're not starting with our categories and saying, make content from these categories. We're starting with your voice. That's critical. That's important, because the idea is that the AI amplifies your voice and helps you to create more, faster, better, and get more visibility around what you do, so that you can help more people, right? If not that, then what's the whole point, right? There we go, Rob. Thank you.
Back to where we were. So
Yep.
we now have a transcript that we have pulled in, and we're going to encourage you to look at this as if this is you and a piece of content that you have. We'll also talk about what to do if you do not have a piece of content. So Colin, right now you're like, boom, we got this awesome masterclass. What are you doing next?
So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use the source data. The source data, remember, could be text, transcript, anything and everything that you want to do that share that's relevant for you. And then we're going to ask the AI to utilize this piece of content. Do you want me to give you a prompt, Rob? Would that be helpful? Okay, give me a sec. I'll copy it into here for you.
All right, you're going to drop that in the chat?
Yeah, I'm going to drop it into the chat for you.
All
Here
right.
we go. Okay. I'll drop it into the Zoom chat, and then you can grab a copy of that as well if you want. It's in the Zoom chat there, Rob.
Got it. All right. Can you see my screen still, Colin?
I can see it.
All right. So all we did here is it says, create a table for social media posting schedule for LinkedIn with days of the week as columns across the top, and the content categories listed as row down the left side. The content category should be, and boom. Are you adding anything else to this right now, Colin?
Yeah, so that's a really good point. So with this, AI is an expert in pattern recognition. We need to give it the patterns. This is why Rob and I held the Soul Data Masterclass a couple of weeks ago. We need to give the AI the pattern of who you are and what you're all about. So if you've not been through the Soul Data stuff, I highly recommend that you do that. Whether you're doing this for yourself or you're doing it for your clients, it's really, really important and powerful. The content that you get out of AI as a result is literally night and day difference. If you don't have Soul Data, plugged into your custom instructions. Could we show the custom instructions real quick, Rob, where they are? So Rob's going to click the icon top right, go to customize ChatGPT. This is where you can tell Chat what to call you, what you do, what traits you want ChatGPT to have, and then anything else you want it to know about you. This is Rob's soul data that he's plugged into here. If you don't know what this is, go and check out the masterclass. Make sure you plug this into your custom instructions. Chat knows all of that stuff, right? So it's an expert in pattern recognition. It uses that information to filter and modify what it gives us as outputs. That bit's important. If you don't have that, you can use a very simple, what we call power positioning statement. I am A. Should we use that one here, Rob? I
Yeah,
am A.
sure.
I help B to do C with D. So I am,
All right. Who are we?
yeah. Should we do it as you? So I'm a,
All right. To
yeah.
help.
So I help visionary leaders and entrepreneurs
All right.
leverage AI to amplify their impact, something like that.
Yeah.
So if you look at that formula, it's just I am A, I help B to do C with D. If you don't have your soul data, you can use this format right now. So who are you? How would you introduce yourself in one breath to somebody if they asked, who are you? What do you do? This is
And
your one breath introduction or power
are we doing
positioning
anything
statement.
else here, Colin, or are we just hitting enter?
I think we just hit enter and let's see what it gives us, Rob.
Right. And as a caveat, we will show you the good, bad, and everything in between. So if all of a sudden this does not give us what we want, you may run into the same thing. So, all right. This thing's analyzing right now. All right. So boom, here we go. This has gone ahead and created a LinkedIn posting schedule template with the categories you now need to fill in. Let me know if you need any adjustments. So, Colin, is this what you were hoping to get out of it? Is just create me the template there?
No, I was hoping for it to create example pieces of content. So
Okay.
actually,
So
hold on.
where,
Let me see. Let me
because if you
say,
look, you said create a table for the social media
yeah,
schedule
hold
with the
on.
content
That's
categories
yeah,
above.
that's on me. I missed part of the prompt. Let me give you the prompt. That's the joy of doing it on the fly, Rob. So if you look in the chat, I've just put the additional part of the prompt.
There you go. Mundane details, huh, Peter?
There we go. So I mean, that's a useful little error of mine there. When I do these keynotes and presentations, I often show these pictures of AI creating images of astronauts and horses and all kinds of weird and wonderful things. And the difference the word on in a prompt makes is phenomenally huge. So you can see there, I've missed out the bit that actually asked for the pieces of example content from the AI, and we just got the table. So the way and the methodical way that you engineer the prompts makes such a big difference. So see there already, it's created a schedule. It's suggested what day we post which category of post, and now it's doing what we should have asked it in the first place. Had I
Okay,
not made
so
that
right
that
here,
mistake.
Colin, what this created was a mimic of what my VA created in Notion.
Yep.
So this is the organization of how we chop this tree down and make this simple for you. All right. So Colin, as we're looking here, here is content that it created. So you can see each one of these things, and caveat here, an origin story may not be as relevant pulling out a transcript of a masterclass on soul data, because an origin story is core to who you are, and it's sort of, there's a lot of different layers to this, right? So everything's not an absolute. But Colin, I think the busted myth is a good one here.
Bust a
Myth,
myth is a great one. Yeah, that's
AI will
really
replace
powerful.
authentic human connection. I don't think anybody actually says that. Myth, AI generated content lacks soul. All right, here we go. AI removes creativity. I feel like of the three, it only went 1 for 3 on this. The biggest lie about AI that it makes creators lazy. This is actually perfect. AI doesn't remove creativity, it removes friction. The blank page is no longer your enemy. Imagine having an infinite brainstorming partner that speaks your language, mirrors your ideas, and expands your thinking. So if AI could help you unlock your next big idea, what would you use it for? So that in its own is very good there, Colin. And I think what we're about to share, there's differences between you and I in the way that we create. Would you post that as is, this number 3?
Rarely do I post anything as is. Rarely. How about you, Rob?
Whoa, no, because for me, it didn't give enough juice for me. I'm a depth person, right? I'm a
Yeah.
heart person. So I love what this is about. I would want to go deeper on this.
So just before we go that level deeper, thing to note here, right? 5 categories, 3 pieces of content per category. That's, if my maths is right, that's 15 pieces of content. So if we're posting once a day on LinkedIn, Monday to Friday, that's actually 3 weeks worth of content in, it's not finished, granted, but in what, 30 seconds, Rob? So you can
Yeah.
see now how our promise of a week's worth of content in 60 minutes is ridiculously overstated, right? Or understated, sorry. So
Okay.
let's go
So
that level
Colin, look at
deeper
this
with it,
one.
Rob.
This is good. On the show me the visualize success. We can create carousels. How to give ChatGPT soul. Slide 1, AI without soul data, basic, robotic, forgettable. Slide 2, AI with soul data, aligned, personable, transformative. Slide 3, how to do it. Give it your identity,
I
your
like that. Yeah,
values,
I like
your
that. I
vision.
like that.
Slide 4, try and do this. Boom. We could immediately take that and throw that into Canva with a pre-scheduled template, or your virtual assistant or somebody on your team could do this in 2 seconds.
So in practice, when this is being run through as an SOP, what happens with these contents that come out, the ones that look good are literally copied and pasted into a Notion. And then from there, they're worked on. So we might create graphics for them. We might put them into a spreadsheet if we want to batch process a specific one. And actually, when we're doing this en masse, what we wouldn't do is do all 5 buckets at once. We do 1 bucket at a time. So you've seen in my queue when I shared it, it was just calls to action, inviting people into my world. And then it was just calls to action, linking to blog posts. So each category, you can actually go down the rabbit hole of creating content per category. Is that what we're starting to do here, Rob? I'm liking
Yeah.
this. Let's
So
do it.
what I would do here, there's 2 ways for you guys. One, if you want to, and actually I think this is a better use case of it. Take this and you're going to see these little quotes button reply. This will drill down into just this right here. All right, this is great. Let's get more specific and only on Bust a Myth first. Give me 7 options. Colin, what would we like to do to make that even better? Give me 7 unique options, right? I want each one to be different because those were a little bit
Yeah.
similar.
What you could also do, so remember what Rob and I say about specificity and context in this approach. So what I'm thinking here, and this is just me thinking into the AI, I'm not magically making up some prompt engineering technique, is literally we want this to climb inside the minds of our ideal clients when they are making a decision to purchase our product or service.
I'm just taking what you're saying and I'm just writing this down, right?
Yeah.
One of our
So
tips is
there's
take
a
what's in your head and get
that's
it out of your head, right? Because look,
when I'm prompt engineering, that's all I'm doing. I'm literally, I mean, there are technical ways to put a prompt together properly, but you don't really need to understand all of that to that level of detail. Just think in to the tool. That's the best advice we could give you. And you don't need to be an expert in prompt engineering or spend endless hours learning this stuff like Rob and I. We geek out on it, don't we, Rob? We love it.
right. Okay. Here we go. Even the very first prompt right there, it gave us a better answer. AI will make all of us sound the same. Boom. This right here is why each of you are hopefully coming on these master classes, because the goal is to not be like everybody else. The goal is to be one of one you, right? AI is only the same for everybody if you don't know what you're doing. No custom instructions, no soul data, not using the memory, not prompting correctly. And correctly is air quotes, our own style for how we do this. If everyone is using AI, won't all the content start to say the same?
Oh, I thought there was. No, there is.
Super relevant right there. And Colin, can you mute whoever
Yeah,
is?
it's all good. I'm on it.
All right. AI will replace thought leadership. I think this one, even without reading anything, that's actually a very unique topic. I would turn that into a video or a podcast because you can see both sides of it. Go ahead, Paul.
Here's the thing, right? What's happening here is both Rob and I's creativity is being sparked. Guarantee as you're going through this process for yourself, you're going to see things that literally light you up inside. And my suggestion to you would be is keep an content ideas notepad, Notion. I have a Notion document, but I love Notion for everything, right? But whatever, if you might have a Moleskine, you might have an Apple Notes, whatever it is, catch these ideas. Because as Rob's saying, oh, I could make a blog post about that. I mean, I'm seeing content here and thinking that would make a great video for YouTube. So catch these ideas so that you've got them to come back to later as inspirations striking you through this process.
Colin, here's what I noticed. This version is way better than version 1 that we created. And this is going to be because of my custom instructions and soul data. But even look at how this is done. AI is lazy, shortcut for lazy creators. If you're using AI, you're just cutting corners. This is an argument I hear from purists, but let's be real. Side note, you're going to learn there's the let's be real. The truth is, it's another phraseology that AI uses. Using AI isn't lazy, and then it's boom, it's using emojis because it mimics this. This is significantly closer to what you could copy and paste because you can see hook, substance, CTA, what's next. AI will replace human connection, throw that in the trash. AI isn't reliable for deep personal content. That's actually super relevant right there, right? That's only true if you're not using something that's coming straight from you to begin with. AI will eventually think for us. I don't know if I'm really living in that world, if we're collaboratively saying that we're the leader and it's our employee, talk to it like it's an employee. So it can be a collaborator, and maybe this is where the nuances are, right? As I'm giving this commentary, you can very easily just take your phone and say, hey, ChatGPT with number 6, I hear you, but here's my take on this. And boom, you create that. AI is just a trend. That's in some of these, side note, you could almost be, I'm not gonna say you're gonna be a troll, but you can use it to sort of like engagement bait this out of here. Each of these posts challenges a belief. All right, when I hear bust a myth, I'm always looking for a specific few words, right? And one of the parts of self-coaching or self-creating with AI is I love when it mirrors back stuff to us, right? So challenges a belief, boom. All right, what are those beliefs that I challenge? And you can further drill down what bust a myth means for you. Your audience might hold well positioning AI as an amplifier, not a replacement. Even that right there. Let me give you 5 ways that AI is an amplifier and not a replacement. They also invite engagement. Cool. Part of your structure says, end every post with a CTA that's a legitimate yes, and I want to hear from you. Which one resonates with you the most? Let me know if you want variations or different angles. So, Colin, let's do one quick yes and here. I would like to create 7 more pieces of content on this, but in a different way. So what are we going to do this?
Why don't we do I really liked your AI as an amplifier, not a replacement at the bottom there, Rob, in the final remarks, right at the bottom of that thread. Why don't we take that, use the quotes comment and say, write me, how many more did we say? Write me X number more around this. Rob's very, very masterfully enhancing that prompt subtly. So if you're noticing what he's doing, then you're already ahead of 99% of the world at prompt engineering.
So, and I'll speak out loud where my mind went with this. So we can write 3 more. That's fine. Using variety, depth, and nuance. Remember, AI is a king of pattern recognition. So variety, we're gonna have a mixture. Depth, all right, now we're getting to the heart and soul of it. Nuance, I'm looking for those inches. So as the greatness is in the inches in language and framing, based on the way that I create in ChatGPT, I'm guessing this is going to give me some good gold here. And I'm going to actually make this 5, not 3, so that we can have a little bit more variety here, because we are world-class at the same time. We're relatable to those who are at different stages of their journey. And that last part there is super important, because we can speak to someone who's at a 1 out of 10 versus somebody who's at an 8 out of 10.
Yep. And point of note, you're better doing micro steps rather than all of it. So if, let's say you wanted to create a batch of 50, you would not ask the AI to create 50. You would go step by step, micro steps. Let's create 3 at a time. Let's create 5 at a time. In fact, let's create 1 and refine it and make it amazing. Then ask it to create 5 unique more, and ask it to think outside of the box. These are ways that we can manipulate how the AI responds. Let's make them entirely unique. I'm liking that, Rob.
So one of the things you're going to notice by the way that I create with ChatGPT is it buckets mine using emojis, because it's one of the things you can visually teach it how you like things. So for me, this is breaking things up. It doesn't mean I'm using blue diamonds, but it's a way of doing this. AI will take away the human touch. AI isn't for people like me. Well, that's a great one if you're slinging AI, right? Go straight to the core of this.
Yeah, put that in the content ideas bank, Rob.
AI makes content robotic. I mean, crap, we could have used that as the promo for this entire masterclass right here. AI is only for content. It can't help with big decisions.
The important thing in this is both the source data that we started with in the very beginning. So if you notice, we're just going through this in a single chat thread. So the source data that we attached at the start, plus Rob's soul data in his custom instructions, you will get different results if you've not got those 2 things at play in this. That's useful to know.
So Colin, look at this here. Final thought. Each of these posts meets your audience where they are. Some are skeptical, some are interested but hesitant, some are already in but don't realize AI can go deeper. We could literally reverse engineer this entire thing based on, cool, create me 5 for this, create me 5 for this, create me 5 for this. And this is something that if you were using Loom or any screen share, you could walk a virtual assistant or a team member through each of this and saying, like, there's nothing we've shown here that's like, oh my God, I can't do this. It's just some simple prompt engineering. By speaking to these nuances, you're not just busting myths, you're shifting the way people see AI 1 post at a time. Cool. I'm going to take that. I'm going to put that into a document and say, hey, we shift the way people see AI 1 post at a time. What's that mean? Right? So, right? Side note, one of the things I do like to do, and I've noticed this recently as ChatGPT gets better with the outputs, I use I vibe with this. I always like to, and this comes from my improv background, I'm going to yes and it of like, oh, this is cool, this is good because it's my employee, right? I also like to use it as my world-class coach. So the art of shifting perception, teaching the future of AI to a stadium full of exceptional leaders. I don't even need to read what this says. I can copy paste and turn this into whatever. Right? And the 3 levels of perception shift. I mean, look at this. This was, I didn't consciously think about what we were trying to create here. I just liked you're shifting the way people see AI 1 post at a time. Cool. Describe this as if we're going to teach this. Boom. And these are the little inches. Any one of these, you could just go copy, paste, create 5, create this. Is that making sense? Why this matters at the highest level. Crap, this is going to be a master class. I didn't have to read any of that stuff. So this is why we get so excited about the 1 hour AI content powered system, or the 1 hour AI powered content system. It's not hard. It's a framework, and you go, cool, based on me, content with intent, heart, let's build this out. And remember, iteratively, we believe in peeling the onion. The first prompt is the start, not the end. So you might see, as we saw, hey, 1 out of 3 hits, 0 out of 3 hits, but let's drill down on each of these. And the fallacy that a lot of people run into, and this was early ChatGPT days, is they're like, write me a book. And they try and get that done in like 30 seconds and it ends up being crap. The key is the iterative process. Hey, help me create the theme of the book. Help me create the outline of the book. Help me create. So instead of it taking 6 months or a year, instead of saying 30 seconds, you're like, what if I can get it done in 1 hour? That's what we're really trying to get to here. So Isabella, Colin has a good questions. How do you do this if you don't have any content before? So great question, Isabella. Here's the number one. We didn't actually need any content because we just yes-anded the responses. So think about content equals context, right? You're just saying, use this as my heart or my foundation. So what I end up doing, and I do all the time, whether you're just co-creating with ChatGPT or you say, hey, I've got ideas. Here is 10 myths that I have. Or actually, Colin, let's try it this way. We're going to do exactly, we're going to do a brand new one as if we're Isabella.
Let's do it.
All right. And you're welcome to give commentary here because I don't know if me typing is the most enthralling thing in the world as I'm just trying to.
Yeah, it's all good. Time. It's all good, man. It's all good. While Rob's typing that, one of the things that we do in Next Big Move is we have you create what we call an ICP document, an ideal client profile, and that leverages prompts that we give you to put into the AI to tell it a little bit about you, what you do, who you serve. The goal being that you have a text file that you can upload in. So as Rob's just like riffing off of this right now, you could be attaching your ICP document, your ideal client profile, and that has lots of marketing framework based stuff that tells ChatGPT what keeps your ideal client awake at night around what it is that you do, which gives it enough of a pattern recognition to create content that's 60 to 80% of the way there, even though it doesn't have your voice from the start necessarily, because it's not content that's been created by you at source, but it still works in exactly the same way.
I'm using an absolutely absurd example right here. Just the topic we want to build around is world-class barbecue. So I have a client that wants to create content with intent. As part of that, I want to bust a myth in the industry to help people change perceptions, to help them see the light in something that can help them grow. And I might find out that what I tried to create actually isn't relevant here, right? So here we go. 10 myths about world-class barbecue. Barbecue means low and slow is the only way. The best barbecue comes from secret family recipes. Smoke is just for taste, not for technique. Boom, this is perfect. I didn't have to know anything about world-class barbecue, and look what this did. More rub and sauce means more flavor. Truth. So with this, all you needed was the, I want to create content with intent. I want to bust a myth in my industry. And then the topic around is this. And then here's the task definition, create 10 myths around insert topic. So, Colin, we're not going to make this world-class barbecue because that's not going to be relevant because I don't think this is a webinar for pitmasters right now. What is relevant in terms of, all right, is around global movement.
You got barbecue on that next line as well there, Rob.
Yeah.
Also, you know I'm a vegetarian, don't you?
I am not a vegetarian. So you're looking at that and you're like, no, none of this. All right. Leading a global movement around creating from your heart. There we go. Nice and simple. You can take this. And shout out to our friend Jordan, who's on the call right here, doing some incredible things down in Colombia. He's leading a global movement among a wide variety of things, so slightly applicable for him as well. So there we go. You just take what it is you're looking to do. And listen, we didn't even go super deep, right? If I was actually doing this for myself or a client, I would be way more descriptive than just this. But that's the simple answer. So with this, all right, so Jordan's got a question. Any thoughts on using 4 versus the different versions? Colin, any thoughts on the versions that we're using?
Yeah, you won't like it though, Rob. I actually get, I know you're a ChatGPT advocate. I've been getting better content outputs in the new Claude that came out yesterday, Claude 3.7. In ChatGPT specifically, just use 4.0 as the default standard. The thinking models and the O3 and all of those, they tend to just add a layer in, but the outputs, they're never, in my experience, they've not been as good. So if you're in ChatGPT, just use 4.0 for now until 4.5 comes out. Maybe later today, maybe tomorrow, who knows? That would be my answer on that. Without going down the rabbit hole of other LLMs, Rob.
No, it's fine. For me, it's simple. It's all about shipping the work. Yes, the context can be different from
I'm winding
each
you
one.
up. You know that.
What was that?
I'm winding you up. Winding you up.
It is, because that's what the beauty of you and I. You love going down all of the cool different tools right there, and I'm just like, how do I turn $1 into $1.50? I'm just going to use the one tool, because if I'm not shipping the work, none of this is relevant.
Yeah, exactly. And Isabella just asked a question that you've changed the target group, so you can't use your previous target group. That's fine. So I work with clients, and they might have 5 different personas. Or target groups, target audiences. That's not uncommon. That's perfectly fine. So you can create a project inside of ChatGPT. Should we show this real quick?
Yeah,
you
go
can
for
create
it.
a project inside of ChatGPT. Let me show you. Hold on. On the left-hand side, you can create a project. So you can see I've got a project for Unlimited and a project for some different things I'm working on here. And inside of a project, you can test project. You can have chats that are remembered. You can have files that you upload, whether that's an ICP, an ideal client profile, or persona information, web analysis, empathy map. These are the things that we teach you inside the Next Big Move, and or specific instructions about how you want ChatGPT to respond, the format of its responses, all of that thing, right? I like to play with, when I'm doing demos, have it speak like Hercule Poirot in a pseudo French accent, just for a bit of fun. But you can put whatever's relevant to you in there. You can have a project per persona, or you could do something else. You could create what's called a custom GPT. Sounds difficult. It's really not. We've got a video on it. You literally program, like we would do in a project, you program a version of ChatGPT for a specific task. Here is my ideal persona 1. Here's what makes them tick. Here's what they love. Here's what they hate. Here's how I help them. And then you can leverage that custom version of chat for everything that you want to do regarding that persona. And then you could create another one, create another one, create another one. I coach a lot of agency owners, and what they'll do is they'll create custom GPTs for each client that they serve, because each client has a whole different set of products, whole different set of services and people that they serve. So lots and lots of different ways that you can do that.
Cool. Colin, I think what would be fun now is to pop open the hood of, like, who has a question right now or something that's on your mind? Do you want to use the thumbs up to sort of jump in here, and we can just sort of either co-create or answer any questions that are on your mind? Or do you want to yes and on something? How are we practically doing anything? Jordan, what's on your mind?
Yeah, man, thanks for walking through those different things. I think one of the things that comes up for me is formatting and the specific pieces of the posts that you have, and having them formatted in a way that's consistent with guidelines. And the thought of, okay, does that become a custom instruction, or does that become its own individual GPT? Does that become something I'm doing in a prompt chain as like micro iterations? But just as an example, like the formatting that I usually would get, and some of the formats that you got there were not necessarily aligned with like what I would want for like a LinkedIn post, for instance. So I'd have certain things within the hook, number of words, type of thing. You know, I think you know where I'm going with this, so I'll let you.
I know exactly. All right, I'm going to share my screen here, Jordan. So this is actually probably what you're talking about here. So let's call it along the lines. I picked up a storytelling framework on LinkedIn. Starts with the hook, then the story, then the solution, then the payoff, right? And we can use that. And then I think we can be specific on the character limit. And Colin, this is the content lighthouse process where you can define all of the criteria for this. And I think this is what you're saying here, Jordan. So let me try this. All right. So this isn't exactly the best how I would totally do this, but it's like you can break this down here. And what I'm going to quickly realize, well, what you'll realize is that sometimes it's verbose and it doesn't create it like it's a post, right? So I'm going to stop this thing right now. I can already tell I did a poor job of this. So I always like to give a little break right here. This is sort of like a little style thing of like, now I'm telling my employee.
The other thing that you can do as well while Rob's writing that is you can specify in the prompt the actual output formatting. So if you're using, let's say you're writing a YouTube description where you can only paste plain text, you can't paste bullet points and things like that. You can ask it to output in plain text without using boldface, without using bullet points. And you can create a format in there. You can also put that into custom instructions as well.
Another part that comes to mind for me is, breaking it up into these different parts as GPTs themselves. Just because, like, giving it a more micro thing to focus on. Like, for instance, having a hook GPT that's like, hey, stop, don't use colons, 10 words or less, just focus on giving me 5 hooks for this topic, as opposed to writing entire posts, because it tends to, at least for me, when it's writing these entire posts, they're just not good enough.
Yeah, that's the thing. So the reality in practice of this is we give it the custom instructions, we give it the soul data, and we tell it. One of the things I see a lot these days is this isn't this colon, it's this. It's called an antithesis sentence structure, or correctio. It's a format in language. I hate it, and it's very obviously AI. So if you see that, likelihood is AI's written that. Even though I say this is never use this, I've got it in capital letters in my custom instructions, it still spits that out over and over. So this is not infallible. This is why we're saying this is the starting point. I love your idea, Jordan, of having the little micro steps. The more micro we can make the steps in this, then the better the outputs are going to be. So that was our reason for saying, don't ask for 50 posts, ask for 3 or 5. In fact, work on one and get it brilliant and then expand. And so the reason custom GPTs and projects can work beautifully in tandem is that you can have a custom GPT is great for a specific use case. So rather than a LinkedIn post GPT, a hook generator, like you mentioned, Jordan, you've got my juices flowing there. I'm gonna go and work on that. A hook generator GPT, or a LinkedIn formatting GPT, where you could copy and paste these things in, and then it's trained on how to format this for LinkedIn. YouTube descriptor GPT. I can see our unlimited vault's just going to get fuller and fuller after this call, Rob.
So Colin, I've thought about this. I'm not going to say I'm anti-custom GPT. They're just not as flexible to me as an entire thread is from a prompt chaining perspective.
Yep. So here's the thing, right? You have multiple custom GPTs. If you put that thread back on there, Rob, what you can do is you can, in that same conversation thread, you don't have to go to a GPT and create a conversation thread. In the text box, you just mention a GPT. A lot of people don't know that you can do this. So you can mention one of your GPTs and say, use the StoryBrand framework, use this programming, use this thing, use this to now make the hook better, So you can chain together these little GPTs inside of a single conversation thread. That's look, if we were doing the best way to do it as we sit today, that would be my recommendation. But there's a lot of detail in that. There's a lot of complexity. So if you're just starting out, a lot of this might be going over your head right now. Don't worry about that. This is not a 1 and 0 thing. This is very nuanced, and there are layers to this. So our invitation is, don't be overwhelmed. Just take those steps in thinking into the AI and creating something. You see, now we created a week's worth of content in what? 20 seconds, 30 seconds. It wasn't ideal. It would still need some human input, but we can literally just keep going and going down this rabbit hole. In 55 minutes, we've created I mean, my head's buzzing with content ideas and videos and things that I want to go create. We did that in AI in our world. Imagine what will happen when you do it for you in your world. The
So
same
Colin,
thing
here's the next level of this, because this is what I am actively working on. We are going to become our own roadblocks. You're going to say, we just created 15 pieces of content here. Am I going to spend the next 2 hours scheduling, pruning? And this is going to be 80-20 rule, right? We got the 80%, but now we need the 20% there. This is why using a virtual assistant or having a team member where we drop this into Notion or whatever, and all we've got to do is approve, right? That's the goal of all of this, is to get this to the point where done is better than perfect. But we've gotten past the delves, crafted, tapestry, unlocks side of things to say, hey, let's get our machine humming. This is why we're calling this a system. Colin, the thing that I was going to ask you with Jordan's question is, I've thought about doing this as its own thread, not a custom GPT, a bust a myth thread, a CTA thread, an engagement thread, an origin story thread. I think it's the same use case that you were saying to Jordan. I think I would just prefer to do it in its own thread, because I'm already doing this with a newsletter. I'm already doing this with YouTube. I just live in a vertical, or in this case, a context.
So what we do with when we implement it with clients is we create a custom GPT that's trained on everything about that client. So you would have a Rob Cressy GPT that has all of the information about Rob Cressy, all of his ICP data, and then inside of that Rob Cressy GPT, inside of that Bust a Myth thread, you would mention the Rob Cressy GPT and bring all of that love and juice into this conversation thread.
All right, Jordan said you didn't see that 2 apps you mentioned at the beginning. Are we getting a tutorial on those? Jordan, are you talking about the YouTube transcript one, or the text one that Colin was talking
you had
about?
both. You had the GLASP and you had the site. I didn't quite see how those were integrated into this. Maybe I missed it. I did step away for a moment. So
Cool. Super simple right here. Jordan, this is, to me, this is the no-brainer of the century. So when you've got the plugin, you can get the transcript of any video. So take a look at this. And this is step one. Think about 2 use cases. One, you using your own transcript, because Colin and I and Jordan, you have access to this in the AI Vault, is the content lighthouse process. How you can take this 1-hour transcript and say, hey, based on this structure, turn this into an SEO optimized blog post. But here's number 2. So I'll go to the unlimited YouTube channel right here. And you see this Alex Hormozy thing. Watch this. I'll do this in real time for you. I don't have 30 minutes to watch Alex Hormozy's video. So what am I going to do? I'm going to take this transcript right here, because I just did this yesterday with a Neil Patel one.
Did you just click copy in that GLASP window then, Rob? Is that what you did?
So here's what I did. So I'm going to do this backwards, but you're going to see this because it's an ongoing thread. Right? So all I did is I took the transcript of what Alex Hormozy says right here. And then here is the prompt that I originally said, because I did this 4 times yesterday on 4 different videos. Below is a transcript from a video. Please share with me the best takeaways, nuggets of wisdom, nuances, and everything in between. I want to learn, so be very specific. My goal is to read this, not have to watch the long video. So I want to understand what's in the video so I can apply them to my business. Boom, enter. So the first one that I did was Neil Patel, How to Get Rich in the New Era of AI. And then boom, here's all of this. And the next one, The Slow Death of Google and SEO. I don't have to watch any of those videos to get exactly what's going on in there. So look at this. What's Alex Hormozy's takeaways and everything? Boom. It just drills this down right here. And what I loved about the prompt, and I'll actually throw this in for you guys because it's super valuable, and this is just sort of how I cook on ChatGPT. You can then use this, if I can find where, here's the chat. All right. I just dropped the prompt in there. You can then say, number 1, am I using this for my own learning? Or number 2, do I want to create a piece of content around this? Because we could very easily, without even looking at it, boom, spin this off. So maybe it's not Alex Hormozi's video. Maybe it's one of your competitors talking about something that's relevant to you that you know. Hey, take what they said, put that into my voice and turn that into a piece of content. So you can see here, make it more right, turning mistakes into brand reputation. The real reason people, so look at this. Here's the exact everything from this. I didn't have to watch it. So 30 minutes into, let's call it 2 minutes right there. That's my use case for how I use that plugin. And I dropped that right there. So, Colin, we're at time right now. Jordan, I really appreciate those yes ands and those questions right there. Colin, for anybody who vibed with this, can you tell them about our community and where they can join?
Yeah, I'm going to show you exactly that. So there's so much to share, isn't there, Rob? I'm really keen to keep going and keep going. The community is at unlimited.coach, and in here you get access to Rob and I twice a week, live on calls, and you get access to almost everything that Rob and I have ever created together. And we essentially walk you through the pathway with both AI and development of self so that we become better at everything that we do, AI helping amplify that whole process. It's a magnificent community that's growing and is such a vibrant space for us to all live, grow, and learn together. We help each other along the journey. It's phenomenal. And just very quickly, because I know we're out of time, that convert web page to anything. This is the Next Big Move program that I was telling you about. This is the sales page for Next Big Move. And if you pop a URL into here and hit convert to text, it will give you the text off of that page. So you can then copy that text and go into ChatGPT. This is a custom GPT that is trained on content with intent. This is another gift that you get inside of Next Big Move. And if I ask it to create some Bust a Myth posts linking to the Next Big Move program and then paste the copy into the page, that's going to use that copy as a source content, just like Rob did in the beginning. And it's going to start our process right from start of creating Bust a Myth content. So circling back to where we were, one piece of content, two pieces of content in seconds, like literally seconds. And we could go on and on and on, but it's 2 minutes past the hour. So we're going to just have to put a sock in it right there, Rob.
Cool. Well, thank you to everybody. If you have any questions, feel free to hit Colin or I up on social media. And if you enjoyed this, make sure to share it with a friend. We definitely are people who want to make the world a better place by leading and creating from our hearts. So sending tons of love and good vibes your guys' way. Have a blessed rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.